What up,
Hey
everybody?
everybody.
Okay, little trip down memory lane here, right? Isn't it gonna
And
be?
there's good reason to do it. Yeah, for
Yes.
sure. I think
Yeah.
it's important that people kind of hear like what goes on in everybody. Because a lot of the times we think that the information running through us, we're the only people to feel it. Oh,
Mm,
this, yeah, but Mitch, you don't understand. Like that's why we keep, like, for example, when we experience fear
mhm.
and before making a decision, right? We try not to tell anybody about it. And then we just try to justify it with some kind of logical deduction, like, oh, like, I don't have the money, even though you do have the money, you're just afraid. Or I don't know if it's gonna blah, blah blah. We come up with all these reasons because we don't want to just be honest about the fact that we're afraid. Suppress it. And fear is such a big pattern before every decision, that when
Right.
anytime you're going to let go of money or take any kind of risk, even if it's emotional, like you got to go speak on stage and you never really done it before, or speak in front of a group, just stand up and speak. Fear is going to grip you right before you make
Right.
that decision.
And guess what, though? Right. Here's something. Again, this might go over some of your heads. Some of you might see this clearly, but we are the only group in the entire world with the tools that we have where we can help you actually process through and remove the fear for good. Okay.
Mhm.
We're the only ones that can help you. Let's call it clear the fear. Okay. We're the only ones that can do that. And it's not us. It's not me and Asif are special or we're some guru or some shit
Yeah, you
like
don't
that.
have to call us
Anyone
to
who,
clear your fear. Yeah.
yeah. Anyone who claims they're a guru is a fucking liar.
Mhm.
But we have tools that can help you do that. So, right, that's what makes this so unique, right? And that's why we're not just any other self-development group or some mastermind or whatever people are claiming they are nowadays. It's like we actually have the evidence of that. And so we're going to walk you down memory lane so you can see a bit of what we have been through before we met each other, as well as then kind of the inception of this whole movement, because there's valuable lessons throughout it. So grab your popcorn, grab your soda.
And and you'll probably hear this story in the future in different contexts, but there's a specific point that we want to address because it's something that everybody goes through, and it is a pattern of fear. It's the pattern of fear that every time you go to make a decision, that if you were to just talk about it without you having to actually make the decision, you'd be like, yeah, this makes sense. This will push me in the right direction. But when it actually comes time to make the decision to actually move forward, there's fear. And just to be clear, to give whoever may not have the full context as to what energy is okay, say, you're just walking about your day, you're just going to the bathroom, whatever. You don't feel anything. I don't mean like you don't feel your hands, you don't feel your toes. I mean within yourself, you don't feel any energy moving through you.
Mhm.
But when something bad happens or something makes you react, somebody almost crashes into your car, you'll feel something run through your body. And that's what is called energy. Okay. Energy is kind of a catch all to refer to any kind of emotion. For example, emotion stands for E dash motion. So energy in motion. So when the energy is running through you, you can label it as an emotion. Oh, it's I'm angry. Like you feel kind of like red hot inside. You feel, or maybe you feel sad, you're depressed. That there's an energy running through you. We're talking about the energy of fear today. What fear feels like, what it sounds like, the way it comes out of you as words and justification and all that good stuff, but why you shouldn't do something even though you wanted to do it maybe a day ago, 2 weeks ago. We're going to talk about how fears played a role in our lives and how we overcame it, and how that's really how overcoming fear is the number one greatest thing that you can ever focus on doing in your life. And right before we get into the stories, because I'm going to ask Mitch, like, what's the first thing that you want to share in regards to the, I'd say the main story that you want to share in regards to overcoming fear. But before that, something that one of our mentors shared with us, who's made millions, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars through business. It's one of the first things he decided when he first got into door-to-door sales. And, he felt like a big shot. And then he knocked at his first door and he realized something. After he knocked his first door, he realized, I have fears. Like, oh my God, I'm afraid of things. And I've seen this with people time and time again. Big shots who come into the door-to-door game. This is including myself, but I stuck it through. And then I would see people come into the game and they're all excited. Oh yeah, I'm gonna crush it. I'm gonna fucking crush it, bro. I'm gonna crush it, man. I'm gonna fucking crush it. Have you ever done door-to-door sales before? No, but I'm gonna kill it, man. I'm gonna fucking crush it. And they knock on their first doors, and it makes children of men. It makes children of men. Not always. I'm not saying it's like literal war, but it's probably the closest thing to it in terms of business, where that's when everyone's fears kicked in. And out of that, he coined a phrase, our mentor, one of them, that he shared with me and Mitchell and another group of people, that's very powerful. And it's going to be the theme of what we share with you today. It is, if I fear it, I must do it. If I fear it, I must do it. So for those of you who have Technotutor, I would highly recommend putting that into your Technotutor, and maybe have it part of one of your stability lists that you do on a regular basis. If I fear it, I must do it. So that being said, Mitch.
Well, here's a little quick disclaimer.
Please.
Fear and danger are two different things, right? If you're a newcomer to this and you never heard that phrase before, right? We don't now mean, oh, if you're afraid of running into traffic, go do that, right? No, we find common sense here, okay? So danger is different than fear. This takes some self-honesty.
Yes.
Because you might be like, well, if I knock on that guy's door, he might pull out a gun on me and kill me. It's like, no. I mean, use your common sense, okay? We mean fear, the energy of fear. You might feel like you're going to die, but if you could actually reason it out, okay, you ain't going to die from this, right?
Right,
and
exactly.
It looks usually something, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, that's like the little difference there is, if you knock on the person's door, is there a bunch of possibilities, but in your mind, you're only playing one possibility? That would be a projection. That would be the fear. Versus if you walk off a cliff, are there a bunch of possibilities and you're only playing one possibility? Or is there only really one possibility? Like if you walk off a cliff, you're going to fucking really get hurt or die or severely injured, then that's danger. Like if you get hit by a car, there are a bunch of different possibilities. No, you're probably going to get really, really hurt or die. That's danger. We're not talking about danger. We're talking about fear. Thank you, Mitch. That was good.
Yeah. So, usually what this looks like, right, in my experience, has been times where I have felt bad when I have to make a decision in business or in my life. I know I have to call somebody. I know I have to say something. I know I have to pay something. It's like this feeling will come up where initially I'll be like, I should probably do that. And then I'm like, oh, no. And it's like my mind in a quantum moment will just jump to the justification. It's like, I call it the justification jump. It happens so freaking fast. We're like, oh no, I actually don't have to call him. I'll probably call him next week, or like it'll just work itself out. Someone else will do it. It's like your mind will just jump to that thing, right? Or you're like,
yeah, I know. I was supposed to go to that event tonight, that little meetup thing, but no, like there's more important things that I got to do. I forgot that I have to do this thing that doesn't actually fucking matter, but I'm making it so that it matters right now, so I don't have to go.
I need to like relax tonight too, because like I've really been pushing myself, and I'm like on the risk of burning out, and like I'm just, it just doesn't make sense to go there tonight. But like, yeah. Even though I had all 5 reasons, 2 days ago when I first booked it, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be great, man. Right? It's like that is the issue here, right? And that's what we're going to dismantle together here over the next part of this audio experience. So
for the obvious ones, real quick, because sometimes it's less obvious. But for the obvious ones, it's just like Mitch said, it's when you decide something, you said, I'm going to go to that thing on Thursday, I'm going to go to that thing on Friday, a couple of days in advance. Any reason, this is the way you should see it. This is why you have to be clear on your why. When you made that decision about why you need to go, it needs to be a decision that cannot be changed, other than an emergency, like a literal emergency.
Yes.
And so any quote unquote reason that comes up is actually just an excuse to not do it because of fear. And you're not going to be honest with yourself about it, especially if you're a dude. You'll be, because dudes, like, we don't experience energy through our body the same way that women do. It's a lot more It's so easy to suppress it. So easy to suppress it. And we'll
Mhm.
just make it look like we're just super logical. Like, oh yeah, for sure. Like I just thought it through. It doesn't make sense. It would be a better use of my time if I just focused on, generating leads for my business, or I've just focused on my accounting tonight instead of going to that. It's just justification. If you made a decision about it, a day or two or a week in advance, and then there's all these reasons that come up, it's just justification. But there are times where it's less clear cut, which is what we're going to share a little bit about.
Exactly. So here are some examples, right, that I've gone through. Um, Whenever I had looked at a decision that I knew was really going to push me, there was very few times that I actually really went through with it. But I remember initial, I okay, this is kind of what happens is sometimes you become so weak and so lost that you force yourself into a corner and then you have to go through like extreme desperation and pain to then make a decision because the pain of your day-to-day life is you become so weak and feeble and you're just so pissed at yourself. You're like, this is so shitty, that pain is then greater than the actual fear you're feeling. So here's an example, right? Back what, 3 years ago, my life was just a wreck. Like on the surface, people would be like, "Oh, you're so great. You're like one of the most emotionally intelligent people I've ever met. You're such a good talker. You're so blah blah blah." And I'm inside, I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I feel like I'm dying all the time. Like I hate my life. And even though I was listening to Kevin Trudeau every day, man. I was reading the books. I was the student of life and the universe and all this shit. So then finally, my life got just so I just wasn't growing at all. I could put on a front that I was growing. I could feel like I was growing and all this stuff, but I knew deep down I was not growing and changing, especially the amount of money that I had coming in every month in my business. I think Asif just dropped, but I will just let him back in. So what happened then? I was looking at my life. It was shitty. I just moved back from California back to Minnesota. And I'm sitting there looking at the situation that I'm in. I'm like, what can I do about this? I had tried everything. I was doing e-commerce at the time, all this stuff. And I was like so pissed that I was stuck. So that anger became just like raging. I was like, I need to just do something to change my life. Then I realized, ding, I should go to a gin event. Okay. And for anyone who doesn't know gin, right, it's a success club that Asif and I had been part of in the past. And many people in this community are, know of the Kevin Trudeau training. I realized, maybe I should just go to a gym event. And then I looked at the ticket prices. I was like, oh my gosh, and plane tickets. Oh my, and a hotel. Maybe I could stay in a cheap Airbnb. I had fear. I was like, maybe I could stay in a hostel and like walk to the event because I was so afraid of spending money because I had screwed myself over so many times investing in stuff and it never worked. And it wasn't that the material didn't necessarily work. It was that I was broken. My programming was broken. So one, I had all this fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to this gym event. I'm going to spend money. Oh, and then I get to the event, right? And then at the event, I'm like, oh, there's like this lounge at the top and you can get like breakfast included and all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, the gym people are probably going to be there. And then I asked them at the front desk, like, how much is it to upgrade? So my room includes that. They told me the price. I was like, oh, I'm like in pain. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, just put it on my card. And I'm like literally in pain doing this because I was so broken on the inside. Not just broke, but like broken. My programming was so messed up. I couldn't even see, like, I couldn't actually even reason it out for myself of why it made sense to be in that room. So I was going to be more likely to meet people who could expose me to new opportunities to change myself and my situation.
And guys,
Mhm.
I just want to emphasize this real quick. Notice how there wasn't even and you're going to see the effect that this had on Mitchell's path, his entire life. But notice that there wasn't even necessarily a clear cut benefit. It wasn't like, hey, Mitch, if you walk into this room, you're going to get a 200% ROI in the next 4 months. It wasn't that.
Right.
So just something to consider for everybody. There wasn't a clear benefit, but there was potential of benefit. There was still,
Right.
Mitchell had to still be somebody in that room. He still had to be, there's certain skills that he had to employ. But the point to consider is, well, he's experiencing all this fear, but he's still taking a risk and he's willing to do that. So it's a really big point. Keep it up. This is
Yeah,
great.
and then so then they build my room, and I feel like it's another brick that just gets added onto the fucking sadness of my life. Of like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be successful. I'm studying all this success stuff, and I'm fucking broke. Like this sucks. And then, but I'm putting on my smile in the lobby because it's gin. I got to be positive. It's gonna be great, right? And then I end up so then go to bed that night, right? And I'm like, oh, I hope this is worth it. I hope I meet someone here. And then finally I make it into then the lounge area, and then that was actually the morning I met Kien, and then who introduced me to Asif. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then they tell me about this stuff that they're working on. They're working on changing the system through education, and they have this techno tutor thing. And immediately they said techno tutor, and I was like, oh, sounds expensive. I don't want it. It was like immediate. I was like, nope. I couldn't even hear him out on it. But thankfully, Kien, was able to chat with me. Asif was able to chat with me, right? And they were giving me just a lot of really cool ways of looking at things. And then finally, by the end of the weekend, right, I looked at it, and I finally, at that point, I met a lot of the guys. I was like, whoa, I've never heard anyone talking like this before. And seeing you guys have this track record of really rising up and making a lot of money that I've never made before, maybe I could actually learn from you guys. Like I hit that moment of self-honesty where I was like, okay, I'm definitely afraid right now of everything in my life, but I can see that you guys are actually, it was like I could see the truth in what you were saying. And so then I hit the point of when you guys are like, okay, so this is Techno Tutor, right? If you want to get in, you get support for life, you get all this stuff, right? Plus the tool will help you actually catalyze everything you're trying to do, right? Because right now your programming in your unconscious is all messed up, obviously, by your fucking life. Like you guys helped me see that for myself, where I was like, wow, I'm over here thinking I'm programmed for success. But if I looked at actually my reality, I was programmed to be broke and a loser and just screwed. And I saw that. And so again, I had that moment of realizing, oh my gosh, this can actually change my life. I have so much fear. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. But I do want to do this. And I'm like all distraught. And then thankfully you guys are like, yo, let's just do this. And in my mind, I was like, no, but what if you just give me a month? I'll have a little more money. And then I realized I'm just acting like an idiot right now. Like these guys are actually here and they're gonna help me. Like, let's just do this. Right. And so I almost I just got myself to this point of realizing, okay, fuck this fear. Let me just do this. Like, I'll figure it out. And that was then the moment that then everything shifted. And when I look back at that, that was the best decision. I mean, I've made a handful of best decisions in my life. That is clearly one of them. And again, I went through all the fear, right? And I was like, okay, whatever. Now I have this thing. Now, here's the shift that happened. I went from fearing and reacting to my entire life to now taking my life by the horns, basically, and then every day applying myself in both using TechnoTutor as well as then leveraging the support and then applying it into my business. And as many of you know the story, about 3 months later, even 2.5 months later, I had hit all my records. 4 months later, I'm making an insane amount of money. I mean, even by January alone, in 17 days in the January after that, I made over $250,000 in revenue. I profited over $30,000.
You had 10x.
I went to the event and I fucking faced my fears and I took that on. But then even along the way, there was other stuff that then came in. And then they're telling me, oh, now there's this distributorship thing. And I say, oh, hang on. I don't have all the results I need to then distribute it. And then I realized, oh, that's that fucking fear pattern. Oh, and then Avery had taught me if I feared, I must do it. And I'd already seen the benefit of that because it helped me make some really big decisions. And in like a day, in like 2 hours one day, I had these like critical conversations with people. One was like a former business partner. One was a current business partner. One was a like ex-girlfriend. And it was like, and one was on my parents. Another was with my brother. It was like, I started to realize, oh my gosh, all this shit I'm afraid of that I'm fearing, let me just fucking resolve it. And I learned, oh my gosh, every single time I do that, because I could notice the fear pattern come up. And I was like, oh, wait. That's that fear thing. Okay, if I fear it, I must do it. Like, fuck, what do I got to do? Okay. Oh, feeling my heart's racing. Like, okay. Give me a glass of water. Okay, sit down, make the phone call. Or sit down, okay, schedule the meeting, then go to the meeting. And every single time by the end of the conversation, we're like laughing and like, oh my gosh, like that was actually like, that was great. That was really, really great. And then it was like a burden was lifted, a burden that had fucking sunk into the cells of my body was released. And I
Mm-hmm.
felt lighter. And then I freed myself up to take on more responsibility. And that was then the process, right? And then Cameron and Avery come out with the book. And I'm like, oh, this book, oh, but it's more expensive than I thought it'd be. And it was like still that fear would come up of like, well, I don't want another thing. No, just get it. Okay, got the book, then made even more money. Right, then learned I could sell the book, then made more money from that. So it's this constant cycle of, okay, there's a fear, okay, crush it. And now I'm at the point. And then again, dude, the fears of freaking doing the self-perfected calls, and then going out and bringing in distributors to my team, going out door knocking, learning how to sell, getting then 5 sales in a week. I'm like, oh, this is the process. I just look at where I'm being a little bitch, where I'm accepting fear, limitation, weakness, go do the damn thing. And then voila, it's like on the other side of it is like a giant pile of money, boom, hits my bank account. And now I'm like, oh, this is the drill, right? Then I could really push myself for bigger things like buying a home, right? Having a baller wedding. I'm having a kid now, right? Getting married, all that stuff. It's like that's the process. But you get there by seeing, well, we'll tell you in a moment how you get there. But Asif, I want to hear your story.
And I'll give you guys the condensed version because Mitch hit on every one of the points. He really did. And that's something that everybody goes through. It's just, are you an entrepreneur? But most people listening to this, a lot of you starting your own business, you guys are entrepreneurs, right? And some of you guys love the word. Some of you are disgusted by the word because it's so perverted. Like it's this image that it's not actually. But if you just look at the word entrepreneur, the definition of entrepreneur is not a business person. The definition of entrepreneur, in essence, is a risk taker. This is the reality. Nothing in life is guaranteed. There's no ROI or return on investment that is guaranteed. Hey, if you join this, it's a guaranteed ROI. The opportunity, the tools, the whatever the case may be, can only up the degree or the probability of success. And some things a lot more than others. Like for example, if you want to lose weight and you learn that you have to move quickly and move fast, and you start driving around in a car in order to lose weight, well, the probability of you being successful is 0. So if you have the tool of, driving around your car, it's not going to work. But if you have the tool of the gym, your probability goes way higher, but it's not 100% because you could not use the gym. You could use it incorrectly. You could not use it enough. There are all these reasons why you will fuck it up anyways, even if you are given the perfect pathway. That's why you need to be changing your programming. And the number one way that you are controlled by your programming, the number one way that you're controlled by this world system that says, hey, don't do that, don't say that, you can't do that because XYZ, the number one way that you're controlled is fear. Fear, fear, fear. So every time that you go to take a risk or to be an entrepreneur, for somebody who was programmed as a slave, every time you go to take a risk as an entrepreneur, you will experience fear. And just to share the other side of that story, me and Kian, we've been to many gin events in the past. And Mitch, that was your first major event, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, like Mitch was saying, for those of you who don't know what gin is, it's just a networking club, and there's like personal development information in it. So and this is something that Kian studied for a long time. I studied for a while, Mitch studied for a while. So that's what kind of like how we met each other. And that's how before every major gin event, even though the first one I went to was so much fun, it was awesome, really pushed me. Second one, same thing. But even after we went to those events and we got a lot of value out of it, our life always jumped to the next level because we met the right people through that club. Like that's where we met Cameron and Avery. And, that kind of laid the foundation for the entire purpose of my life in terms of me discovering who I am and like what I'm here to do. Even though we had that from gin events, we would make the decision, and we'll take the Denver event where we met Mitchell as a perfect example. A couple months ago, we're like, hitting a rough patch, and we're like, fuck, man, like, I don't know what to do, all this stuff. We're like, okay, we're gonna go to the gin event. Gotta go to the gin event. And we're all excited. We're like, yes, that's going to be a game changer. That'll be the stimulus we need. We're going to meet the people, we see the tech tutor people. That's always really, really good because we've talked about the importance of in-person events before. So just being able to get around Cameron, Avery, the other distributors will be extremely powerful. So we're like, okay, let's do it. So make the decision. And then it becomes 3 weeks, a month out, right, from the event, and we haven't bought our tickets yet. And so every single time we buy our tickets and book our flights, even though we decide 3-4 months in advance, we always buy our tickets and book our flights, less than a month in advance. And it's just a program, and we're just like, no, like, dude, we shouldn't go. Like, it's so stupid, man. Like, it's not even gonna be good. Like, we don't even get anything from the speakers off stage. And, like, did we actually even, just all of this stuff would come up. Oh man, like, it'd just be better if we just focus on our own shit. If we just focus on our own shit and focus on sorting out our own shit at home, that would bring us way more value than going to an event and find somewhere else. And like, oh my God, it's so much money going out. Like, we're not even gonna be making money. That's gonna be, what are we gonna do? Maybe we might make money, but like, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Because if we put that money into investing in ourselves right now, or just kept it for ourselves and just focused on our business, and we spent the week that we would be gone, and the plane rides and all that stuff, it's all wasted time. All of this shit would run through us, both me and my brother. And just like you guys heard through Mitchell, and I know it goes through you guys, which goes to show that it's a program. Program meaning that it's something, it's like a script, like a lines of code that when it gets clicked on, when the application gets clicked on, the code just starts running. Decision, you open that application called decision.exe or DMG or whatever it is for Apple, and then it starts running the script of fear, backchat, bullshit, right? But obviously we ended up being like, fucking hell, we got to go to an event because we follow through on a principle of attending in-person events. Always extremely valuable. So we let all the bullshit run through, but because we have principle, follow through. And that's where we met Mitchell. And that was where me and Kian really stepped into our next level at that event.
Good thing you didn't stay on the sidelines and
Good
just
thing we didn't stay on the sidelines and go into the fear,
Yeah.
right? Because guys, this is what has resulted in the Young Billionaires Club, because Mitchell, through us supporting Mitchell to walk his process, he's become equal to us, and he supported Seth like years later, right? Like a year and a half or something like that later, to get TechnoTutor and start working with us so we could create the Young Billionaires Club. That's why we have this today. Now imagine at any point, whether Seth chose to participate in fear. Seth was pretty clear, which is really cool. Like, he saw this, he's like, oh, I based off everything I studied, I know what TechnoTutor is like, let's fucking go, which was awesome, right? But I'm sure he had to work through his own points.
See, what's
right?
funny with Seth is he had just bought a course right before I met him. Like a week before, he just dropped like 2,400 on this book publishing course. And so with him, he saw the value of TechnoTutor. He's like, I don't have money to join as the like a distributor right away. And he's like, oh well, maybe I could just like get the product first and then whatever. But I was like, no. It's like, look, you're gonna see the benefit after like 2 weeks, and you're gonna want to sell this thing. And are you happy with your job working as a property manager right now? He's like, hell no. He's like, okay, cool. so he goes, okay, give me. Well, he
awesome.
goes, give me 2 weeks and I'll call you. I'm like, because I'd heard that before. But I was like, but he's like, actually, like I know the gin training, like I know power of keeping agreements, like I'm gonna do this. I was like, okay. And after 2 weeks, he's like, hey, I need 2 more weeks. I was like, oh, but he's like, I'm still gonna get it though. And sure enough, then boom, he got it. And then he jumped in and then he started freaking crushing it. And after what, like, he quit his job at very fast. He surprised me with how fast he moved. Yeah. Then he bought his Mercedes. Then him and Amy got together.
Got a girlfriend. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so,
and now they're living in a completely new place. Like, it's just amazing. So the point is, really look at it. If Seth decided to break his agreement, if Mitch decided to give into the fear, if myself and Kian decided to give into the fear, even way back. The thing that unites us, Avery and Cameron, their stories, unfreaking believable. Kind of fear that they had to walk through. But if at any point that even just the three of us gave into a fear, we wouldn't have what we have today. What do you want to create in your life? What is it?
Yeah, is it you want to be the top? Like I know a lot of guys in young billionaires stuff. Like you want to be at the very top of your industry. You want to make billions of dollars. You want to disrupt things. You want to be like a world-class recognized person. Some of you want to be more behind the scenes. That might be fear-based, right? But it's like you have these major freaking goals. Guess what? That means you're going to have every last point of fear within you challenged, right? Because it's still resonantly in you. It got put into you when you were in the womb. But the most amazing thing is that as you work through this stuff using the tools and you apply yourself every day, it's like you get that fear. It's like it gets expelled out of you. There's not an infinite amount of fear if you're walking the process. If you're not walking the process, there is an infinite amount of fear.
It'll be the same thing that keeps coming up.
But if you are walking the process, it is a finite amount of fear and bullshit you have to go through. Because at one point you will hit it where you will have no more fear, no more hiding. And then at that point, right, you are, as we call it, self here, and you can direct reality real time.
Mm-hmm. So for all of you listening, emulate that pattern of pushing through fear and taking risks. There's always going to be another risk to take. So look at who you have to be in order to push through the fears that are facing you today. Share this with 3 people who you know could benefit from this. Like, subscribe, get on the Sunday calls.
Yeah, get on Sunday calls, and we have a new money-making opportunity that we're unveiling. And so for those of you who need some more cash flow, reach out, right? You can DM either Asif or myself cash flow, because we have a really cool business opportunity that is, it's freaking genius. So hit us up.
Alrighty.
All right,
Good to
cool,
go.
everyone. See you next time.